Hi, folks. Steve Urban here. Today's episode of the Riderflex podcast is sponsored by Marketing 360. My good friend JB Kellogg and his team do such a fantastic job for us and so many other companies. Marketing 360 is the number one platform for small business, and it's everything you need to grow your business. If you need marketing support, I really encourage you to contact them at marketing360.com/Riderflex, and we'll add that link to the description of this episode for easy reference. And on today's episode of the Riderflex podcast, we have guest Nathan Levy. He's a partner at Diamond Ventures and DVI Equity Partners. I really enjoyed my conversation with Nathan. We chatted about founders, startups, VC, all kinds of investments, how to raise cash, etc. I hope you enjoy the show. We're recording this, by the way, for the listeners on April 8th, 2020. And that's right in the middle of the coronavirus situation. So Nate and I are both working from home and have been for a couple of weeks, right?
Yes, that is right. Yeah, I'm working from the home office. This is week number 4 for us. Yep.
Do you have kids at home?
No kids and no pets, which is really probably a good thing right now. It kind of allows us to focus and just kind of stay at home and just focus on our work and relax and staying healthy, truthfully.
You know, I was talking to my wife yesterday. We had to run down to the grocery store for something. We were driving back from the store, and I said, how many days have you been home now? And she said, I think 23. And I said, okay, we've been married 20 years. Have we ever been together 24 hours a day for 23 straight days in those 20 years? Like, I don't think so.
No. Yeah, this is rare times for sure. I think, we could probably expect two things, right? Higher divorce rates and higher baby rates in about 9 months. So yep. it goes one of two ways, probably.
Probably so. People are learning a lot about each other in relationships or they're being reminded of some things.
That's right.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, some personal background, Nate, if you don't mind, before we get into the business part of the podcast.
Yeah, happy to. So I was born and raised in Tucson, Arizona, and grew up there, played sports my whole life growing up. And decided when it was time to go to college, I wanted to get out of state. So I ended up going to the University of Denver for my undergrad. Studied international business, dabbled a little bit in international studies and kind of a general business degree. And mostly, had a good time and was social in college. And, 2 or 3 months before graduation, I kind of looked at the clock and said, uh-oh. I kind of forgot about this, job hunting thing a little bit. I better get on top of that. So I reached out to my career counselors and just kind of scanned the marketplace. When I graduated was kind of still really at the bottom of the Great Recession.
Okay.
And it wasn't a great job market. And so someone who always hires young, ambitious college grads is Enterprise Rent-A-Car. So I went out of college and I worked in the management training program for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. In Denver, Colorado, okay. and kind of stuck around and did that for a while. One day my dad called me, who was still living in Tucson, and he said, you're doing a good job at work, but I feel like you have this knack for real estate. My family has a background in real estate.
I see. Okay.
And he says, why don't we try to flip a house together? He goes, I've got some cash, and we'll buy a house and we'll fix and flip it. I said, what the hell? So at the time I was probably working somewhere between 80 to 100 hours a week at Enterprise.
Right.
And I don't know if you've ever rented from them, but it's a tough job and everybody out there can attest. You're washing cars in full suits or, right. Nice formal clothes. Right. So I was doing that during the day. And then I was moonlighting, what I call guerrilla real estate, kind of looking for homes in neighborhoods around Denver that I thought were undervalued. And so, we ended up finding a house eventually for $82,500, which now, if you know the Denver real estate market, probably sounds absurd. Right. But it was a 4-bedroom house. And I kind of went through the whole process of this due diligence, buying it, renting it out, selling it, and we were successful. And I thought, I actually do like real estate. It's interesting.
Okay.
And I luckily have a grandfather that started a real estate company in Tucson called Diamond Ventures. And so I reached out to my grandpa and I said, hey, you know, I've been doing this real estate thing on the side. I think I have a knack for it. What do you think about me coming back to Tucson and working for you? And he says,
and so he was still active. He was still working the business, and your dad worked there too?
My dad did not. So my dad is a separate side of the family. So this is my mom's father.
Okay. All right.
Who owned the business.
Right.
And my dad was doing his own. My dad's kind of an entrepreneur in his own right. Was doing his own thing.
Okay.
So my grandpa said, sure, but you know, I'm pretty anti-nepotism. So to prove that I'm not just giving you this job, you're coming in, you're going to make, you know, 2/3 of the salary you make right now. You're living in Tucson and you're getting coffee for people. And I said, fine, I get it. I understand. So I moved back to Tucson and worked for Diamond Ventures there, worked on the acquisition side of our real estate team. And after a little while decided that there was some refinement that I felt I needed just in my professional skills. And some things maybe I heard but didn't listen to in college, and decided that it was time to go get a master's degree.
Okay.
So in 2014, I went to Boston University. And I went to the Questrom School of Business, and I got an MBA and a Master's of Information Systems.
Why'd you pick Boston?
It's a good question, actually. So the first thing I chose was location before school. You know, my family, part of my family's from the East Coast, and they always talked about, and many people do that East Coast grit and that East Coast grind. That's a little bit different than us Westerners.
Yeah.
And you know, and we're, you know, a little more laid back. We're a little living like
yeah,
look,
just a little bit.
Yeah, I spent every summer in San Diego surfing 6 or 7 days a week when I was in college. So I was more on the low key side. So, you know, I thought the East Coast would be good, and I checked out Boston.
When you got to
New York.
When you got to Boston, when you got to Boston, did you just say, "Hey, you guys need to slow down"?
Yeah, you know what? There was definitely a push-pull, I think. But I loved it. I actually had still some of my best buddies from Boston. We get along great. But, you know, I checked out all the cities on the Eastern Seaboard and good schools. And at the end of the day, I just felt that Boston was just a really cool, fun town full of educated, ambitious people that love sports, that just kind of, you know, really emphasize community above a lot of other things. And that resonated with me. I mean, I think that's a cultural thing that we have in Tucson as well. And so having a tight-knit community that you look after. And so I thought Boston was just an awesome place. And I was right. I mean, I loved my time at Boston and loved my time at BU. You know, I was, you know, involved in student government, which was a good way to get, you know, kind of in touch with all of my peers, as well as the people who ran the administration. So, you know, Boston was a great time. I got my degree. I emphasized technology. I tell people, you know, when I went in, I had trouble changing the settings on my email account, you know, and I came out knowing how to, you know, program basic things. So it was good. It was drinking water through a fire hose. And afterwards, the team at Diamond Ventures reached back out to me and they said, look, we valued your time and your contributions when you were here. We know you want to move back to Denver. That was always my goal. They said, how about opening a Diamond Ventures office for us in Denver?
So even though you grew up in Tucson and you lived in Boston while you were getting your master's, that time you spent getting your undergrad at DU, you were a Denver fan. You're like, Denver is where I want to be.
Absolutely. And, you know, and this is how it went for me. And people go through these phases, but I knew I wanted to leave Tucson when I was 18. So I went to Denver and I loved Denver. But like I said, I spent every summer in San Diego, and I worked for a bank. I worked for the Hotel Del Coronado. I was like a, you know, I
know right where that is. Yep.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's unbelievable, right? And I was there to surf and learn and have a good time. And my goal at the time was, let's move to San Diego when I'm all done with college. The day I graduated, or when graduation was coming up, I was thinking to myself, I said, man, I don't think I can leave Denver. I love Denver. This is where I see myself. And the only reason I moved back to Tucson was because that was part of the deal that I made with my grandpa, was that
okay.
I can't have my cake and eat it too. So I got to move back to Tucson, and that was why I went. But the day I crossed that border down south of Trinidad, I knew I was going to be back, you know, home in Denver at some point.
Okay. Very good. So all right. And you've been there ever since?
Been in Denver, ever since Boston. So
I mean, with Diamond Ventures now.
Yes. And I've been with Diamond Ventures ever since. So I'm coming up on, I think, 6 years with total with Diamond Ventures.
Okay. Is your grandfather still involved?
My grandfather's not. Unfortunately, he passed away, but he's not involved anymore. He was the chairman of the board for a long time.
Okay.
And we other than my mom, who's kind of on the board of directors, we have no other family members other than the two of us involved with the company. So I call it kind of like a pseudo family office. But truthfully, it's a partnership with 6 other partners or 7 other partners that we have at the organization that are not members of the Diamond family, that run the operations of Diamond Ventures and DVI Equity Partners.
I see. Go ahead and give us an overview for the listeners. Diamond Ventures today. Tell us what they do. Give us a nice summary if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to. So Diamond Ventures was incorporated back in 88 or 89. And it was organized to be kind of a management company for a balance sheet of real estate investments. And so there were a lot of land holdings, thousands of acres, as well as some business holdings in there, operational businesses as well, that kind of just needed a management company or maybe a development company that could continue to both manage and grow that portfolio. And so over that time frame, the company has grown, developed a really, really great reputation for itself in the market of Southern Arizona for being hardworking, tough but fair organization that has proven to be successful time over time. And so what we've become today is a land development real estate investment company that spans everything from residential real estate to commercial real estate to ground up development to just horizontal development. And that really is the core business of Diamond Ventures. Like I kind of alluded to, through this whole time, we had been making some investments in operational businesses as well.
Okay.
Some of those included the local NBC affiliate, KVOA Channel 4 in Tucson. A mail order magazine, which a lot of people probably don't know what a mail order magazine is now, but it was kind of for online shopping. That was successful. There was a window and door company. So, real opportunities presented themselves all the way along the way to become equity partners in these businesses. It was never kind of investment strategy, or there was no normal cadence to do that. But we have been successful over the years. The most successful one of these investments was a company started in Tucson called CopLink, which was a software company that took disparate sources of data and kind of brought them together and allowed you to do kind of suspect generation for law enforcement. And that company we brought in a gentleman named Bob Griffin to come in and be the CEO of that company. And Bob grew that company. It merged with a larger organization called I2 and eventually sold to IBM for a really nice exit.
Nice.
And the reason I tell that story is because Bob, went to work for IBM for several years, and went to go work in Silicon Valley as a CEO for a couple of years. And in 2018, we had been talking with him, and we decided, we have this real estate machine that is successful, but we want a little bit of diversification in our portfolio outside of just real estate. And we recognize that we have some experience in investing in operational companies. Bob became available. I had my degree in technology, and we'd been doing some venture, and kind of the stars aligned. And so in 2018, we formed a subsidiary called DVI Equity Partners. And so the goal of DVI Equity Partners is to focus on the early stage investment in technology-focused companies. And Bob and I are partners in that business. And along with our principal, Knock Can, the three of us kind of run that organization and focus more on venture capital and private equity than the real estate arm of Diamond Ventures.
I gotcha. And what kind of companies do you invest in? Like, what's a typical, profile for you to invest in for DVI?
Yeah, to date, what we've been focusing on is kind of what we call Series A raises for companies. It's tough to define. That's a moving target of what that really means. So I think that's probably a company to me that's got about $1 million in annually recurring revenue. You've demonstrated some sort of product market fit or some need for the solution or service that you're providing in the marketplace. The company is going to have some sort of maybe growth opportunity. And this is an overused term, so apologize, but some sort of inflection point in their business where they're looking for some kind of growth capital to really scale up. And then there's kind of other things that we dive into, but our investment thesis is built around 2 core principles. Okay. The first is we're looking for a business that's part of an emerging trend, right? Something maybe, and the analogy that I use, or the metaphor that I use, is the pie, right? The pie. And if you can take a piece of a pie and grow your market share, the piece of your pie gets bigger, and that's great. Maybe if you're a clothing company, that's what you try to do. You just try to take more market share of the clothing space. What we're looking for with emerging trends and emerging industries is for a company that can not only take a growing piece of that pie, but that the pie itself is going to be growing, right? And so now you have exponential growth beyond just a market share thing. So we're looking for emerging trends that are really, 10, 20 years out. The second core principle of our investment thesis is what's called the Levi Strauss model, and this is talked about, sometimes often. It's if you think back to the gold rush in California in the 1800s. I personally can't name a single gold miner that struck gold. Like I don't know any of them by name, right? But I'm wearing Levi Strauss jeans, right? What did he do? He made jeans and provided pickaxes and shovels for every gold miner. Didn't matter if they struck gold or not. They all needed what he was providing. And so that kind of Levi Strauss model of being the company that provides those pickaxes and shovels for all of the gold miners is kind of what we're looking for as well. So those two principles kind of guide our investment thesis at DVI Equity Partners.
What's your typical investment size, or can you talk about that or give us a range?
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking to typically write about $500,000 to $1 million check in the first round of investment. We have a pretty large capacity to follow on as needed. I'd say the largest investment we have in a single entity is about $3.75 million.
Okay.
And the smallest we have right now is $300,000. So there's a range, but that 500 to 1 million is really kind of where we're looking for that initial size.
And it sounds like, you touched on it. It sounds like you dance a little between what you would call VC and PE. It sounds like you talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we do. There's I use the terms loosely because we aren't, the strict definition of private equity where we're going to go in, buy a majority stake in a company, put a bunch of debt on it, build the EBITDA up and flip it. We're really not that company. We're not built for that. But, the term that I used earlier, and there's a specific reason why we put this in our name of our company, we like to view ourselves as equity partners, right?
Okay.
And when I talk about VC, it's kind of our traditional sense of venture. We're going to buy a minority stake in a company. We're going to bring a certain level of expertise, maybe a Rolodex of contacts that we can bring to the company to be, a useful investor. But we're going to be a minority stake, and we're not going to be day-to-day in that company. And we're going to hope for a large exit. We're not going to make cash along the way, and it's going to be mostly based on the ability to either sell or go public with the company.
Okay.
On the private equity side, what we're looking for is maybe a business that's been in business for 5+ years, and it's a good lifestyle business, let's say. And maybe they've always been flirting with break even, or maybe they are break even. Maybe they even make a little bit of money, but what they need is an injection of cash.
You just described 90% of the small businesses in America.
and that's the crux of the issue, and I'll talk about that in a second. But they're looking for a little bit of cash and business expertise and the same acumen that we can bring to our venture companies to come in and bring it to this type of company and grow it, right? Because that, in that sense, maybe you make a lot of money on an exit and some kind of multiple there, but the truth is you can make distributions all along the way as well, and we could be fat cats, with cash that way. So I guess the reason why we do both is because, and I talk about this with my friends in the investment community, is that there's not a one size fits all. Yeah, right. Yep. When we talk about venture is what I call sexy, right? You think about Uber and Facebook and Airbnb and these classic exits. Everybody wants, whatever, 5,000% IRR. Like I would love that too. The reality is not every company's built to be venture backed. And I think that's important to consider because most aren't.
Yeah. Most
are not. That's correct. What you need to consider is, do I want to give up some, autonomy in my decision making? Do I want to have investor reporting as a major part of what I'm doing? Do I want to scale at all costs if that's what my investors want? Am I going only for an exit, or do I maybe want to build a lifestyle business? These are the things that kind of we see in the marketplace, and it's not as simple as, okay, you want money, go talk to all these venture firms. because the incentives may not be aligned. And so that's why we kind of present ourselves more as equity partners, as a kind of, outside of debt, which we don't do at the moment. We'd like to be some kind of solution for you where it's a win-win for both sides.
It's so interesting. You mentioned the lifestyle business and the decision for the founder or the company owners at some point, right? Because I just had this conversation. Riderflex, as a recruiting firm, we're about a $1 million revenue firm, and I was visiting with a couple of my advisory board members, and they recently had that conversation with me. They basically said, "So, okay, good job on getting it where it's at. Now, what are you? Is this a lifestyle brand for you and your partner and your wives, and you're just gonna, enjoy life and pay yourself a decent salary, and that's it? Or are you going to take it to the next level and take on cash?" And I remember thinking at dinner, thinking to myself, I don't know, actually.
Yeah, no, it's, yeah. And look, that is something that every business owner and entrepreneur, yep. this fork will always come to a fork in the road, right? Yep. Yep. And so a very influential figure in my life and a lot of people's lives was my grandpa, right? He was a very successful, charismatic businessman, right? And he told me there's tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. And he's like, you decide what you want to be, right? Mm. He says, tier 1, you're whatever. I mean, maybe it's just you. Maybe you're an independent contractor and you make money when you want to make money, and you live life and it's very comfortable. There's tier 2, right? Where you run a business. You're responsible for other people's livelihoods and their family. And you have more responsibility, but at the end of the day, it's still a lifestyle business. You're not pulling your hair out. And number 3 is you're pedal to the metal 100% of the time. I mean, there's never sleep, right? I mean, it's if you want to grow, you got to grow. And there's a certain level of commitment to take it from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3. And so none are right, none are wrong. It's just that decision when you come to that inflection or that kind of decision point in your company's maturity, mm-hmm. That's when you make that choice. So
and tier 3 means you're taking other people's money. So it's a whole different stress level, like a whole different stress level.
Yeah. I mean, there's a difference between, having 5 employees and having 20 employees and having 500 employees and more. It's, actually real quick on that, I joke around, a lot of the most successful people I've met in my career are really good at what they do. And their company naturally grows because they're very good at what they do. And over time, they start to do less of what made them so successful, less of what they're really good at, and more HR management, more organizational management, and maybe less real estate or less software or whatever it was. It's just an interesting dynamic to see kind of how companies grow and how they evolve over time.
It's true. So let's talk about the types of founders you invest in. We talked a lot about the types of companies. Talk to me about the people, the aspect, right? When you got founders sitting in front of you and you're thinking, okay, you guys got a nice technology. I like what you've done there. It looks like it's scalable, blah, blah, blah. But then you got Johnny and Mary, and they're in front of you. And for whatever reason, you like the technology, but you're just thinking to yourself, I'm not investing in these people. Talk to me about the difference, the difference between the types of founders you invest in and the type you pass on.
Yeah, I'd say, let me start with the most important thing, which is a requirement, is domain expertise, right? So the questions you ask are, okay, why this product? Like, what are you really solving for? Are you solving for anything? Why this market? Is it a big market? Am I going to make enough money? Why now? Like, is now a good time to invest? Or maybe I just let them play out a little bit more and I come back, or maybe I'm too late. And then it's why them, which is what you're addressing, right? And the why them, the first thing is, well, you got to have some domain expertise. I mean, if you don't really know what you're talking about, or if you haven't been there, done that, or like you haven't done the necessary research to fully understand, how do I know somebody else isn't going to come by that has that expertise and just create a better product, right? Mm-hmm. So you need to either have the domain expertise as in having lived it, maybe had this problem that you're solving for, or surrounded yourself with a support team that fills the gaps in what you have, right? That's kind of the must-have, right? I think the next thing that I think most venture people will tell you, at least in Colorado, is the airport layover test. You know that one? So
I don't. No.
Layover test is, so you and I, maybe we're flying from Denver to New York City and we get to the airport. We're on the same flight. We don't know each other. and we're delayed for 2 hours. So what do we both do? We both go to the bar. We get a cheeseburger. We go watch whatever sports would be on, right?
Yeah.
We're sitting next to each other, and the question is, do you pass the layover test? Can we spend 2 hours together, hanging out, drinking a beer, and would we enjoy each other's company? We don't have to be best friends, but can we enjoy each other's company? Can we build a rapport? Right. Because if you can't build a rapport, you can't build trust. And if you can't build trust, you can't build an authentic relationship, right? Mm-hmm. And, one pitfall of entrepreneurs that have investors that I see is they wait too long to tell bad news. You tell bad news early, and I don't care if you never tell me good news because it'll show up, right? But you say bad news early. And if you don't have trust, you're never going to tell your investor that. So I think that airport, that was a long way to explain the airport layover test, but that's an important one for me too. I want it to be a good person, an authentic relationship that we develop. I think the last thing that really we kind of look for in these entrepreneurs is, do they have a clear vision? Do they have clear convictions of what they believe is going to work? But are they willing to listen to maybe viewpoints that aren't in tune with exactly what they think, right? Because if you're just here for my money, I'm not, money's a commodity. There's money in a lot of places. We're not the right firm for you, right? But if you're willing to discuss what you believe is right and then have a discussion, not a monologue about it, then that's the type of entrepreneur that we're looking to have, because nobody's perfect. Nobody knows everything. And I think, I know I'm not the smartest guy in the room, right? But you just got to surround yourselves with people who can fill those gaps. And so that's the type of person we're looking for, who's a little self-aware, willing to listen, and willing to take advice as well.
What are some of the biggest mistakes you see, or most common in the pitches where they're pitching for cash? Can you talk about that for a second?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think don't assume the people you're pitching to know things.
Right.
So, we could all be very smart people, and we could know exactly what you're talking about, or the companies that you're referencing. But on the other end, we may have no idea what you're talking about. We might be polite and smiling and nodding. You don't raise money from politeness. You raise money through informative, right, decision making. So
that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So I think explain everything, over explain everything. And if somebody says I understand this, then you move on, and that's fine. But I think really communicating and focusing on why you are different, why your product is different, why you're adding value in the marketplace. I think that's the most important thing that we want to hear. And sometimes that's the stuff that's glossed over. I think pausing to ask if there's any questions is actually important. I'm not sure I always get that. Okay. And opening up for dialogue is key. I think a lot of people skip over. And then don't. I think some people tend to be sometimes defensive or confrontational. And there's no need. I mean, look, if you're gonna raise money from outside investors, you're not gonna raise money from every company you pitch to. So all feedback is important feedback. No need to get confrontational. Take notes. Listen to the feedback. Listen to the questions you get. And then kind of work with it, right? So that's kind of where.
And how about the link? How about the length of their pitch deck, or does the PowerPoint and the material even mean anything to you, or it means a little bit, and you care more about their presentation, or just talk a little bit about that? I know a lot of times founders get caught up in, oh my God, the pitch deck's got to look a certain way and be a certain number of pages, and all that. They get too caught up in that, I think. But what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, think about it like this, which is part of what you do, which is job hunting. Yep. It's okay. I'm an investor. I need to put my money somewhere. Okay, or I'm a company. I need to hire somebody. What's the first thing you do? You write a cover letter and resume, and either they like your cover letter and resume and you get an interview, or they don't. Your pitch deck is your resume, right? That's the first thing you send to them, and either that qualifies you to get an introductory call with us. This is our operation. This is how we work. Yeah. And then it qualifies you to get an introductory call where you can go more in depth in certain things you feel are important, or it's unimpressive, or it doesn't match, or for whatever reason it doesn't get you that interview. So it's think about it as it's not the end all be all, because it's not what's going to get you money in the first place.
It gets you the meeting. It gets you the
meeting. It gets you the phone call, right? And an important thing I think in life is just to have a seat at the table. So that pitch deck gets you a seat at the table. So it should be well thought out. it should be, you know, compelling. But you know, at the end of the day, spend more time on your company and why your company is important, and the discussions than the deck.
How long do you give them on that first phone call? If you do book a call with them, what is it? I'm just curious. What's the length?
Somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour.
Okay. All right. What percentage do you pass on? 90%, 80%?
From that first phone call, probably about 90%. Probably about 90%. You know, here's why. And you know, I made this mistake. Look, I'm developing my skill set and my career along the way, and I am by no means perfect, right? But one of the things I realized is that an early no or a quick no to a company helps them out, and it helps me out. You know, time is a limited resource, and I always try to say why no. I try not to just say no. And if I can get there quickly, I do it, because what I found is, sometimes if I have 9 yellow flags and 1 green flag from an introductory call, 10 out of 10 times it ends up being a no. So instead of grasping at straws, it's best for both parties to just kind of be like, here, look, the answer is no. And so that's why it's a high percentage. It's not because, you know, I'm mean, but it's just a bandwidth thing.
If they get past the phone call and you're thinking, hey, this could be a group we're going to invest in, when it does crash before the final paperwork is signed, does it crash most of the time because the owners just refuse to give up the right amount of equity, or because you found out something they didn't tell you with regards to the numbers? What's the most common reason for it to crash towards the end?
I mean, you kind of hit on the two. I mean, you're right on those two. So I mean, first it's deal negotiation, right? At the end of the day, it has to feel good for both sides. That's ideally the last time you're ever adversarial in a sense, is when you're negotiating that. And then once you get your terms, it should be hopefully a smoother marriage from that point.
Good point.
But at that point, you're still looking out for your best interests. And so sometimes you just can't come to terms, and that happens. But on the other end, it's sometimes, we're told a story, right? We agree to things based on a story, our own market interpretation, our own research to a degree. But then when we really dive in, maybe we talk to some customers, maybe we talk to some past or existing investors, or we dive into the financials. It's not as rosy as maybe they had told us. Stuff does just start to come up, but that's the purpose of due diligence, is to make sure, at the end of the day, I sign my name on that investment, right? And the buck stops with me. So I'm going to do my due diligence to make sure, my reputation, my investors are protected. And so sometimes just stuff comes up. But I would say when we sign a term sheet, I'm not sure we've signed a term sheet and not invested in the company.
Okay. I am amazed, to your point on, you found out something during the due diligence you didn't know. It's the same for us at our recruiting firm. I'm amazed at how often people lie, Nate. I just, I get a little bit jaded, right? Sometimes I tell my recruiting team, I've actually said this, and this is maybe a little too far, but I'll say something like, look, every candidate is lying about something. Your job is to find out how big the lie is and whether or not, it applies. And is it a little white lie? Did they just embellish? Are they stretching the truth, or is it a blatant? Because I almost feel like they're all lying about something.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. And there's a difference between lying and faking it till you make it. Right. Fake it till you make it is okay. I mean, that is a good business strategy. If you make yourself look bigger, eventually you grow into that size.
I did that the very first time I was promoted to president and CEO of a $40 million company. I faked it for probably the first year.
Exactly. Nobody has any idea what they're doing, right?
No.
You fake it till you make it, but you don't lie, because the truth is that stuff ends up surfacing one way or another. And it really just, at the end of the day, it hurts. And also with job hunting, it's the same thing. We're so, and I hate job hunting. So what people like you do is phenomenal, because it is like, potentially, there's two things I tell people that I really dislike in this world. looking for a job because it's very difficult to do.
Yeah,
And the second thing is people who drive slowly in the left lane. I cannot stand that. But, we're so focused when we're looking for a job or we're looking for capital partners in getting that money or getting that job that we try to make ourselves as presentable and perfect for that job as possible. But in reality, we have to make sure the job is a good fit for us too, right? And I know we all, if you need a paycheck, it's a different thing. You go, you get a paycheck, and you got to pay your bills. But if you have the luxury, or maybe you have an existing job and you're looking for a new one, you got to make sure it's the right company for you, because you don't want to jump ship. You don't want to do something new. You don't want to find an investor that you didn't interview, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, yeah, I got the money or I got the job, but this isn't the right situation, and this doesn't feel that comfortable. So it's got to go both ways. And unfortunately, sometimes you're going to pass. Maybe I'm offering $1 million to you and you say, gosh, I like the million. I really don't like you. So appreciate it, but we're just going to keep going this way.
Yeah, it's really good advice. And I've heard that from lots of other guests on the Riderflex podcast. They have said, look, if you're going to take money from somebody, you better make damn sure you like hanging out with them a little bit and talking to them and maybe having a beer with them. Because if you don't, it's going to be miserable.
Yeah. And the truth is, you probably know, all it takes is a 30-minute conversation, not about business or less. Right. It really doesn't take long. It's just some people you skip that part of the process.
I couldn't agree more. 2 more questions for founders real quick. Or for aspiring entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
How about the 2 aspiring entrepreneurs? We'll call them co-founders, even though the business isn't started yet. They talk about it. They meet about it. They're having beers in the backyard about it. They got a great idea, but they both work regular jobs and they're scared to get started. And they just haven't taken the leap. Any advice for those guys?
Yeah, look, it's always safest to do the side hustle, right? Side hustle is a term. If anybody watches this or listens to this in 20 years, side hustle might be out of fashion, or it might be, still in fashion. But, look, that is the safest way. If you've got an income and you could do it on the side, you do it until it becomes a point where this is viable, and I want to put my eggs into this basket and go after this. That's the safest way, right?
Yeah.
To me, as an investor, I'm going to want you full time by the time I invest.
So you're okay. So if you meet these guys and they're doing it part time, you're like, hey, I'll meet with you, I'll talk to you, we'll have a relationship, but I'm not giving you my money until you're all in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because just the stage and the risk appetite that we have, that's kind of where we need to be. But it's not always prudent to quit your job and go all in right away.
Most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's not.
Right. That's great. Your commitment, look, I can't question your commitment level. That's awesome. But, I can question your sense and your sensibility if you're quitting your job to run a business that's maybe not even viable. That shows something as well. So you gotta, what I want to see from an entrepreneur is, can I weigh risk and reward? Can I do trial and error? Can I understand the steps in a process to determine viability, right? Because if your business does take off, there are going to be times where maybe you want to launch a new product, hire more people. And the same thought process that you go through with your co-founder of when's it time for us to quit our jobs? When's it time for us to get office space? Those decisions continue throughout the maturity of your company. They're just different or maybe larger decisions. And so seeing a track record of that is important. So just look, there's no right decision, but there's a right thought process behind the decision. And that's what we're looking for.
We do a lot of, interviewing, obviously here at Riderflex. All day long, we're interviewing candidates. I'd like to ask you just a couple of questions, or one question around job interviewing as it relates to candidates, because I'm assuming you're involved in that a little bit as an investor. Even if you invest in a company and there's another CEO running the company, I'm just guessing sometimes executives that are being hired have to meet with you guys, or you're involved in giving your opinion, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are a couple of common mistakes you see job candidates make during the interview process?
Yeah. It's kind of easy to tell when somebody's trying to give the right answer. I think not always, but most of the time it is. I think just the authentic and honest answer is really what we're looking for. I mean, the questions are organized to dive into the place we want to go. So you don't have to fish. We're kind of heading in that direction. I think that's one of the more important things. Let's see. I knew you were going to ask me this question. I wrote some stuff down because I thought it was a good question.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What I look for in an interview is not your ability to use Excel or not your ability to execute the job, because it's up to your superior or the board to teach you how they want to run this company and the technique and you either have that skill set or you don't. It's about who are you as a person? How do you make decisions? How will you interact with your coworkers? And what past track record do you have that shows me how you've handled situations in the past that will affect how you do handle things with us in this current role? I see people kind of speaking in kind of broad terms, and these specific examples and these specific things that happened in the past are really going to be better indicators of how you will handle things in the future. And that's what we're looking for. It's not, oh, well, I work well in teams and, I ran a 20-person team at this organization and we were charged to do this. And this is what we did. That tells me more than I work well in teams. So I think getting more specific is useful.
Do you have a favorite question you ask?
I'm not. This is going to sound lame, and maybe it's not a good answer. So we'll have to check back in later on. But I like the question. Tell me about yourself.
Yep.
Because when you ask somebody, tell me about yourself, you give them free rein on where to go, and people tend to go where they kind of view self-worth or what's important to them, and there's a lot to tell from just the tell me about yourself question.
I couldn't agree more. And it's my favorite question. I totally agree. And the people that say that that's a silly question, I'm like, what are you talking about? It's the best question. It will tell you all kinds of things. Sorry, I cut you off, but go ahead.
No, but I appreciate your input. I think you're spot on. Look, I've been asked what flavor of ice cream I'd be. I've gotten a lot of the weird questions. And all of them have different rationale as to why you're asking. But, like I mentioned before, the reason, I'm looking for somebody, if you got the interview, I looked at your resume, maybe we called some background checks. You have the skill set. Like you probably have the skill set. I don't really need to prove that necessarily. Bingo. It's more about, are you a good member of our team? Because the biggest assets of any company is the team, right? And it can be torn apart with toxic relationships or dysfunction, but it can be enhanced by bringing the right people in, right? So it's more about you. Yep. It's about that layover test. It's about what are your track records? What gaps are you going to fill in our deficiencies that we need? I don't need if I've got a great accountant, I don't need another great accountant, right? If I've got a great partner. Business development person, maybe I need a direct sales person. What are your direct sales experiences? So it's how can I fill the gaps more than how good are you at Excel?
That's good. Nate, I really appreciate great advice, by the way, not only for aspiring entrepreneurs but for early stage founders. Really good input. I appreciate you sharing so much. And also for people that are interviewing for jobs. And by the way, since we're recording this on April 8th of 2020, there might be more people looking for jobs, unfortunately, than there were 45 days ago, based on this whole coronavirus thing. Speaking of the coronavirus, before I head towards wrap up, Riderflex is 100% remote. Selfishly, I started the company because I wanted to work remote. I was a long-term executive. I was an operations executive, and I just traveled for so many years, and I was just tired of it. I couldn't even stand the smell of the airplane by the time I was done. And so I kind of started it selfishly because I didn't want to travel, and I knew running a recruiting firm, I knew we could do that virtually. So Riderflex is 100% virtual today. With recruiters in a bunch of different states. I'm always curious about this whole working remotely and virtual offices. Based on the technology, I feel like more and more people can do it. But you guys invest in commercial real estate, right? A lot of times.
Yes.
Does,
Yep.
does that does that scare you at all? I mean, as investors, do you think, oh, 20 years from now, unless you're physically touching something, everybody's going to work remotely? Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah. You know, I would say it doesn't scare us, right? I think in an efficient market, we always adapt to whatever the changes are made, right? And
Yeah.
so we're ready to adjust on an as needed basis to however the market kind of changes. But I think there will always be offices and office space. I'm the only member of the Diamond team that works in Colorado. Everybody else is in Arizona. I'm like you. I'm 100% remote.
Okay.
But what I know is the weeks that I travel back to Arizona, which is pretty frequently, I get maybe less work done,
Oh, no
right?
doubt.
I'm not as efficient, but
No
I get
doubt.
more relationship building done.
That's
I
true.
probably get more deal making done.
That's true.
And
Yep.
it's, more, and it's
True.
honestly, it's not about being able to knock on somebody's door and have a meeting. You can do that with whatever, um, workflow management system you want to use, but it's about the water cooler talk. And
Yeah.
that's maybe you can tell from our entire conversation, I'm a big relationship guy, right? And so
Yeah.
the office fosters relationships. It kind of fosters a
Agreed.
right. It fosters a common goal, right? Where okay, every day I go into this office and all of us are working towards to achieve the same thing. Sometimes you can lose sight of that if you never have that personal contact. And people will always put a certain emphasis on that. So office will be around in one form or fashion. Now,
One form
I
or
will say
another.
this: we're currently doing a development in Austin, Texas, on the real estate side. One of the things that we're doing there is we're providing live work units
Okay.
where if you're an independent business person, maybe you are a yoga instructor, maybe you are an artist, or maybe you're an accountant. And what we provide in these homes is we provide you a square footage in the front, which is a commercial office space that you can use with large windows and good frontage. But in the back, you've got your full living,
I like it.
area. So
I like it. I
there's,
like it.
so it's not, so office, I believe, will always be around.
So
But
you're
do I think
already
it's going to be,
you're already
yeah, but
adapting your investment strategy.
exactly.
You're already there.
Look, the adjective I use is pragmatic. We are pragmatic business people. I didn't go raise money on a 15-page PowerPoint. I don't have to stick to these bullet points on how we invest. We like to take a look at the market, see where the opportunities are, see how the market's adjusting and react. And so,
That's awesome.
so you brought up a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Two final questions. I know we're almost out of time. I booked you for an hour, and I'm already there. You've had a great career so far already. But if you had to go back and talk to that young man graduating from that Tucson, Arizona high school before he signed at DU, would you tell
Yeah.
him anything? What would you tell him?
I didn't discover goal setting until a little bit later. And when we talk about goal setting, and often when it's taught to us, it's kind of in these broad, big goal terms, like I want to be the president of a company in 15 years, which is great. I mean, that's fine. But there's the term SMART goals, right? Or achievable goals, tangible goals, and maybe they're shorter timelines. And I didn't realize the effectiveness of that and maybe to-do lists, which kind of are hand in hand, until later in life. And so I'm a very laid back, unstructured type of person, which is why it probably took me a longer time to adjust to goal setting. But I realized while even having that personality, it still helps to goal set, and it doesn't make my life super structured. It still allows for flexibility. I mean, right now on my screen in the top right corner, I keep a to-do list every day, and there's a to-do around the house, and there's a to-do for professional, right? And
Yeah,
it's
good.
if I
That's
ever find
good.
myself not knowing what to do, I have my kind of North Pole.
I think that's really good advice for the classic biz dev / salesperson that's just all about relationships and loves to chat with people and loves to just, because the best salespeople I've ever met usually are not the most to-do list oriented.
Yeah. Yeah. No, usually not. I think, I was in sales, and registering activites in CRMs was not my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, yeah.
To get out and talk to people.
Last question. And I ask this for almost everybody that comes on to the Riderflex podcast. If I were to have you put your core purpose in life into a sentence, what would that look like?
Yeah, for me, it's pretty simple. I mean, my purpose in life is to have a good time while I'm here. I just want to enjoy myself.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I want to enjoy myself. I want to have a fun time. I'm not trying to stress out. I'm not trying to be anxious all the time. There are moments of that in everybody's life. Yeah. But what's the perfect purpose of the struggle if you're not going to have a good time? And do it along the way. And so the second part of that is I want to do it with other people. I want to share a good time. I want to have a good time with other people, with friends, family, strangers, doesn't matter. But what's the purpose of the whole thing if you're not having a good time? So that's kind of when I think about what's going on, I try to relate back to that. And if you live life, now you can't be an asshole, right? I mean, you can't run over other people. You can't be entirely Machiavellian in this approach, But if you think about, gosh, if I know I just want to be happy, then I can analyze every decision. Will this make me happy or unhappy? Will this achieve my goal or not achieve my goal? And that's that's how I summarize it. Yeah.
A mentor of mine, she used to run a company, and she would have a beer cart Friday afternoons. We'd do a little beer cart around the office on Friday afternoons. Nice. And I was a pretty type A driven kind of ops guy, keep the train on time, kind of just push the hell out of everybody. That was my general nature. And every once in a while she would come into my office and she'd say, Steve, she goes, you're doing a really great job, but I just want to remind you that if we're not having a good time, I don't want to be here. And if I don't want to be here, nobody else is going to be here. So make sure people are having fun.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's great advice. That's great advice for any young manager. I think there's nothing wrong with busting balls and pushing people hard. Just make sure you do it in a fair way, and that it's not, they don't go home and cry at night.
And having a little bit of fun along the way. I think that's great.
Exactly.
Nate, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being on the Riderflex podcast. I really appreciate it. The Riderflex podcast features entrepreneurs, business executives, and the stories behind how they got there, as well as daily tips on career advice and job interviews. Our show can be heard just about anywhere these days, but you can visit riderflex.com and click on the podcast page to hear all the previous episodes and learn more about the recruiting and consulting services we provide. Contact us at the email address info@riderflex.com or 888-964-5876. Thanks so much for listening, and if you enjoy our show, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like the episodes.